And hello, good people of the internet. It is I, Tommy Kelly, and this is Adventures in Woo Woo. In this episode, I just want to talk a bit about my creative process because it's been asked of me a number of times, and it's all well and good me kind of producing, like a comic, as I have done many times, or whatever it is. When people are saying, well, how did you get to that stage? What is the bits leading up to that rather than just showing the kind of end piece? And I myself, I'm very much into the whole process junkie things. I like seeing behind the curtain. I like looking at other artists drawing. I like listening to interviews of, writers. And I like the behind the scenes. I like the extra features on DVDs and Blu-rays. And I love director's commentaries, all of these things. I like knowing what's going on behind things. So I totally understand the whole idea of wanting to know how I do things. Now, of course, Alan Moore has said that the hardest question that any artist can be asked is where do your ideas come from? Neil Gaiman echoes this in his masterclass, which I've done recently, which is really good. If you are into Neil Gaiman or you're into masterclasses, really good in writing. And he says it's the hardest question and the one that most kind of people kind of dismiss or just go, oh, yeah. It's because, most artists don't know, most creative people don't know how to actually answer it, because where do ideas come from? Alan Moore's kind of idea is that it's an idea space, like an astral plane where all these ideas hang out and, they arrive to people and people then can materialize them into the world. And I feel that's very true. And that's how it feels anyway in an awful lot of my work. And particularly even down to the 47s, but around Dem, which is a graphic novel I wrote, or the Holy Numbers, or any of the other stuff I've done, there definitely seems to be a kind of way of, once I get myself out of the way, the idea has a place to come in. Now, it's not quite channeling. It's not that there's a spirit talking to me or that thing, but it's not very far off it. It is kind of this kind of an allowing of the idea to come to you. So how does that look practically, I suppose? Well, at the very beginning, when I've decided that I'm going to do something new, like at the minute I am working on a new comic, I'm getting very close to the actual starting the thing, because all the pre-production is now coming together and coming to an end. And so what I did was, when I said, well, I wanted to do something, at first kind of the thing that came to me was, rather than I want to do something, that it kind of, as if there was it's hard to explain these things, but as if there was a kind of material weight or a presence or something that had arrived in my mind. It says, hello, I have an idea. Do you want to make me here? And can't really describe that other than there was just kind of a gem or a genesis of something. And that could just have me being kind of at the back of my mind saying, I want to do a new comic and let's see what ideas I have. But it kind of felt like there was something else. And it's interesting that all those initial ideas that arrived kind of get taken away and moved away, and then the actual real idea comes. And that's something I definitely have found in all of my creative projects, in that the very initial stages, the thing that gets you enthused and wanting to do it, the main kind of crux, the main idea I originally had for the comic, probably now won't end up ultimately being in it. And it's that whole idea that you might come across, it's this idea of kill your babies or kill your darlings, which is the bit that you think is the most important to you. Don't hold on to it too much, because it might actually be having a negative effect on, a better story or creating a better story. So then when I kind of have this idea, I just spend an awful lot of time just kind of allowing ideas to come to me, just kind of ruminating over the different ideas, asking myself questions like why would this happen? What would the world look like? What would the people be? What would actually happen? How would the physics work? How would that, if this happened at the beginning, how would that affect the end? And just kind of allowing all of these thoughts to kind of stew in my brain. And then I'll start looking at different things to inspire me. Like I'll start looking at different documentaries that get me pumped. Like Talking with Gods, the Grant Morrison documentary, definitely gets me in a very creative kind of place. Other things do as well. I did a number of master classes around writing, just so I could have a good framework of how to approach the story in the way I wanted to do it, and have a really good kind of solid background in good writing technique or good storytelling. I also did some life drawing classes and did a few other things, followed a lot of like YouTube classes and stuff just about drawing, to up my game a bit on the art front, so that I'm able to do things that I wouldn't have been able to do previously, so that I'm approaching the kind of comic where the whole thing is me leveling up art, story, ideas, all of these things, and I have to be, in a sense, be more capable of an artist in order to do these greater ideas. That happened each time I did a kind of a new thing. Like there was definitely a period before Dem and the Holy Numbers that I spent working on becoming a better artist and writer before it became got into the solid work of the actual comic. And I think that's important. It's a part of my ritual. It may not have to be a part of your ritual, but it's, don't dismiss it. And then I start looking around, like particularly when I'm doing a comic, so I want to work out what the style is. So I look at other people and what they've done and try and kind of go, well, I like that, and I want to incorporate bits of that, and I like that, and I want to incorporate bits of that, and I want to put these together. And it's not about copying, and it's not about like ripping off other people's ideas directly. It's like literally the influence thing where you go, well, I like the kind of atmosphere of something. Like say I really like the atmosphere of Akira, if that's what you like. But don't then write a new Akira. Just take the elements that you enjoy from it rather than wholesale ripping off something else. So like, oh, I like the colors of Akira, so I can bring something in about that. I like Sandman by Neil Gaiman, but it's not that I'm going to write something about, the endless or the gods or, dreams or something like that, but I like the kind of surrealness or the ethericness of that and the kind of the mystery in that. So I'll incorporate some of that. Or there's a great kind of thing in the end notes of V for Vendetta when they're talking about putting V for Vendetta together, and kind of coming up with the ideas. And Alan Moore wrote down a list of all the people that he wanted to incorporate bits of the personality into the character. David Bowie's one of them, and a number of other people. And I find that quite helpful in that if I have characters that I'm not quite sure of how to fully flesh them out, I'll cast them with a real actor for a while and see how that looks. And maybe even, they might retain some of the likeness and stuff like that, but it gives them a bit more of a life. But very soon they kind of move into their own characters. It's always like this kind of initial jump start to get these characters going. Same thing about the setting, and think about all the different elements that you're going to have in your work. But certainly look around, even in your own life, and kind of have a look at different scenarios and different things that happen to you and go, I'll put you in my story. I'll have, different characters you may have met or different ideas that you've come across, and you can all kind of bring them into the melting pot that is your story. And then again, let that kind of just, it's all very hippie, but let that kind of wash over you and just see what comes out. My main kind of thing that I find helpful is this idea of getting out of your own way and allowing these ideas to form within you and come out in the way that they want to be developed. Now again, I'll stress it's not a kind of a channeling thing, but that's about the closest kind of thing I can put to it without using the word, because it's obviously not a channeling thing, but it's just kind of allow these things to flow out from you, man. And then, at some point you're going to have to do the work. So you're going to have to then, start taking actual notes, and you're going to have to start putting the stuff actually together and get it a bit more coherent and pull all these things into a solid bit. And that's where I am now, kind of at the stage of my new comic. I have enough of the story and the characters in mind that I have a concrete way to go into it, but enough that I don't know that I will allow the story to tell itself as it wants to be, which is quite a kind of, that's the way I work. Not all people work like that. Obviously, some people need a very solid layout. ABC happens and then it ends with D. I don't like that. I like to discover what's going on as it goes on, kind of set up the characters. There'll be certain beats along the way, so I know like certain things that are going to happen, but how we get there and how the characters react to them will be kind of decided by the characters when we get there. So it's a kind of a magical act too, there's a kind of more, there's a hypersigilness element to it. If you don't know hypersigil, I have done another video that you can look about. So I've already decided what the hypersigil is. What is the point of my story? What am I trying to do from a magic point of view, and also from a kind of a mundane storytelling point of view? And I think that's important. Well, it's certainly important for me to know why I'm doing this, because that can lead the story in many different ways, and it also leads the magic in very different ways. So that's kind of it. It's an awful lot of just looking around and seeing what you like, taking different elements from that without not ripping people off. It's not about kind of wholesale taking other people's ideas. Just going, why do I like that? And what is it that I want to incorporate from that into my art? It's definitely my way approach. Like I like the cleanness of Jaime Hernandez's Love and Rockets work, but I'm not going to draw like Jaime Hernandez. I'm going to draw like me, but I'm going to incorporate some of this clean kind of stuff. I love Inio Asano's backgrounds, but I'm not going to wholesale rip off Inio Asano, because that's what I love about these artists is their uniqueness too. So I don't just want to do what they do, but like take pointers from them. And then storylines, look at the different stories that you're into and why do you like them, and then incorporate that rather than taking the structure wholesale, as I say, from these other things, and then get out of your way as much and let these ideas kind of percolate around you and do their own thing and kind of tell you what they want to do. You know, have a look at you know, rather than just, as I said, killing your darlings, don't hold on to anything at any point until you get to the, you know, you have your fully formed idea, but allow all of these things just to go in their own way. And if an idea comes up that you enjoy but kind of negates or destroys, you know, your earlier ideas, that's fine. Just go with it and see where it goes. And it's all very mystical and magical. But this is it. We go back to why Alan Moore says it's the hardest question to answer, because you end up talking like this, like the way I'm in, kind of a weird, kind of a nonsense manner. Because for me, magic is art, and art is magic, and it's about taking these things that we have either in our head, or as Alan Moore says, an idea space from the astral plane, or they're out there or separate from us, and materializing them. And that's a very mystic, magical act, and it's so weird, but we take it so much for granted because it's a normal kind of thing that we do. But when you think about it, like, it's not, you know, it's a strange thing to materialize thoughts or creativity or ideas or concepts and put them into some sort of artwork. So I hope that helps. I'm not sure if it will or not, because it's as I say, it is a bit kind of nonsensical and it's a bit all over the place, and it's not like do this ABCD, but hopefully it helps some of you to be a bit more creative, or in some ways, you know, knowing what I do might in some way inform how you do things. But everyone will find their own way. So I would like to hear how your creative kind of thing goes. Like, what do you do to get into the mindset of creating some new things? What is the type of things you do, the rituals that you do that get you into this? And I don't mean like necessarily like, oh, I do, you know, a magic ritual, but I mean, what kind of stuff? Do you sit down? Do you watch documentaries? How do you get into mode? How do you get into the kind of the train or the thought process of creating stuff? Anyway, this has made me ramble more than normally, so I'm going to make my exit. So good people of the internet, until our next adventure, be well.